Hi everybody! So today I am going live to share my story about how I started my business, why I started my business, and everything regarding that whole topic. So I just want to preface this with the fact that I am a little nervous to share this story because it is so personal, but I think that it is a really good story, and I hope that you guys will find it interesting and hopefully be able to take some inspiration or something from it. I kind of wrote it down first to make sure that I had said everything that I want to say. So if you see me glancing down, it's just because I'm looking at my piece of paper here in front of me. Just because I don't want to forget anything or not to say what I want to say. So, okay, this whole video is going to be about how I went from a disabled college student to a multi-six-figure business owner. Thank you, Kat. Okay, so normally I use these Facebook Lives. I usually go live a couple times a month to give you guys tips and inspiration and motivation for running an online service-based business. But today I'm going to share something a little bit different from what I normally do. So I'm going to tell you guys the full story of how and why I started my business. I don't love talking about the story, which is why you may not have ever heard me speak about this before, because it's just a really emotional thing for me to talk about. But I think that a lot of you are going to be able to relate, thank you, Danny, to what I've been through. And so that's why I want to share this with you guys today. So back in 2009, I graduated from high school and my life kind of seemed like it was going to be okay. The economy was tanking, but it hadn't really fully set in yet. We all kind of thought things were going to go back to normal soon, and I just kept living my day-to-day life. A lot of my friends' parents lost their jobs, but neither of my parents lost their jobs. So I knew that stuff was happening in the world, but it didn't really seem that different for me personally on a day-to-day basis. Looking back, I wish that this whole economy thing had made me think twice about going to college. But back then, it literally didn't even seem like I had any sort of option. There was no thinking about whether or not I was going to go to college. It was only ever a discussion about which college I was going to go to, not if I was going to college. But I get it. This was just the mindset that everybody had 10 years ago. And I'm actually still glad that I went to college because I had a really great experience while I was there. I grew up a lot. I met a lot of awesome friends and teachers, and also my husband, Brent. Hi, Tiffany. But honestly, I'm just so lucky that my parents were able to pay for me to be able to go to college, because if I had been made to pay my own way through, I don't think that it would have been worth it, and I might not even have been able to do it. But meeting Brent was worth it, but that's about it. So in my senior year of high school, I remember this frantic feeling I had to decide what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, right then. And I was flailing back and forth between all these different paths that I could potentially follow. The really tough part of this for me was that for my whole life, I wanted to go to college for music and either become a professional singer or a music teacher. It was my dream to go to the Berklee School of Music in Boston. But senior year of high school came around and I was going to go and apply there. It was the only school I wanted to go to, and my parents wouldn't let me do it. They wanted me to go to a liberal arts college, and they said that they wouldn't pay for anything else. So I was kind of screwed. At 16 years old, I basically had to try and find a new passion in life. I sort of tried out all these different paths and options in my head, trying to picture what I wanted to do with my life. I thought about going into the military, which is looking back, I'm what was I thinking? I thought about becoming an English teacher. I thought about becoming a writer or an editor and moving to New York City. In the end, I kind of randomly decided on political science. I liked the idea of learning about history and working for a politician, not actually being a politician. That was not in the cards for me. But I really wasn't sure what else made sense for me. I tried to think of like what other subjects in school I was interested in besides music, and English and history were like the only ones that I was interested in. So it seemed like political science like might be a good fit, but I didn't really know. I don't know. To me, it seemed kind of like nerdy, interesting, exciting, but whatever. So I ended up going to college at Elon University in North Carolina, which was a good school for political science, but I only lasted there 1 year. I was in a long distance relationship and I missed home a lot. I had always been really independent as a kid, but I wasn't really good at making friends. I was kind of like a loner. I did make one really good best friend while I was there at Elon, but she was also in a long distance relationship and was heart set on transferring out at the end of the year. And I'd sort of been considering transferring as well because I was so homesick, and I ended up following her lead. She was my best and pretty much only friend there, so if she wasn't going to stay, then neither was I. By the end of the year, I started to realize that political science wasn't really for me. I think I fell asleep in my history class a few too many times and realized like, maybe this isn't what I'm excited and interested in. So I started to think more seriously about becoming an English teacher. English has always been something I've really enjoyed. But I knew that I didn't want to stay in North Carolina. I didn't really like the atmosphere or the energy. And also the teacher certification process there did not mesh up with the process in Rhode Island. So I wouldn't be able to like get certified in North Carolina and then move back to Rhode Island and become a teacher. They like didn't go together. I would have had to get recertified. So I was sort of stuck, and I ended up making the decision to just go ahead and transfer back home. I still wasn't totally like heart set on teaching, but I didn't really know what else to do. I transferred to the University of Rhode Island, which is actually a good school for teaching, and started going through the program there. But unfortunately, URI, the University of Rhode Island, is like, the like administration there is really, really bad and screwed up. And my advisors like didn't know anything about what they were talking about. So I actually thought I'd been accepted into like this teacher certification program that they have there. Hi, Rebecca. When I transferred, like I thought that was part of the transfer process, but there was actually an entire other application process that I had to go through. But by the time I realized that, I was like 2 years behind in the process. So I would have had to go to college for an extra 2 to 3 years. I thought about sticking it out, but it was around this time that I started to struggle with my disability, and I knew that I just couldn't hack it. I did not even think I could be a teacher anymore anyway, so I just like, I don't know, I ended up just switching my major back to just like plain English and graduated with a bachelor's degree after 3.5 years of school total. And I was relieved to finally be done with school because my disability had gotten a lot worse. What started out at seemingly just like minor pain snowballed to the point where I had to quit my job and I was in a wheelchair. When I developed sciatica and chronic migraines at 17 years old, nobody seemed to blink an eye. My family joked around that I was like an 80-year-old in a 17-year-old body, but at the time we had no idea how serious it really was. My senior year of high school, I missed 35 days of school and almost got suspended because I missed so much school, and we were like constantly going to the hospital and going to different doctors. It wasn't until a few years and a lot of doctor's appointments later that I realized that all of these seemingly random symptoms that didn't go together I had been experiencing my whole life were actually all connected. And finally, I had an answer. I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a rare genetic disorder that affects joint mobility and collagen production. By my junior year of college, it became glaringly apparent that I wasn't going to be able to live a normal life, at least for the foreseeable future. I didn't really have any big dreams for myself at that point anyway, and suddenly all of these possibilities I'd been like halfway considering weren't even options anymore. I decided to stick with English so that I could graduate quickly because getting back and forth to class was becoming more and more difficult. I even had to move out of my apartment and into Brent's parents' house because I couldn't get around anymore without help. I needed to lighten the load so that I could concentrate more on my health. So I graduated in 3.5 years, and I was able to get a job working for my dad at his publishing company after I graduated. He let me work from home part-time so that I only had to go into the office 2 days a week. I wasn't physically capable of working more days than that, so I'm really, really lucky that he allowed me to have such a flexible schedule. When I was in the office with him working, I got lots of valuable experience doing things like customer service, administrative work, photography, graphic design, writing, editing, and really anything I could get my hands on. I was finally done with school, but I'd always had a curious mind and I loved learning new things. So I was always asking for extra work and I got a ton of hands-on experience. But I knew that I wanted more out of life than just working for my dad forever. It was better than being on disability, which was my only other choice. But I don't know. Like, I knew that I couldn't work a regular job ever again, but I also didn't want to work for my dad, and I also didn't want to go on disability. So I needed to find a way that I could support myself, but I really had no idea how that was going to happen. I was extremely depressed because of my disability, and what I really needed more than anything else was an outlet. Something that I could get passionate about and actually do, even if I was laying in bed in pain. Somehow I stumbled into the world of online business. I honestly don't remember how, but I became fascinated with the idea of becoming a graphic designer online. But I was still super new at everything, and although I had done a few small projects with my dad, I was really starting from scratch in terms of building a portfolio, getting clients, and anything to do with working online. Like, I had some kind of skills, but I really started from zero. When I was only a few weeks into my new business, I realized that I actually really love doing virtual assistant work. So I'd started out wanting to be a graphic designer, which was fun, and I still do enjoy occasionally doing graphic design work. But really, I loved the systems and the organization and setting everything up. That is what I was truly passionate about. I found joy in helping other online business owners who were amazingly creative, yet also scattered and disorganized. I'd listen to all of their thoughts and ideas and word vomit and make everything come together in the back end so that they could bring their dreams to a reality. More than anything, what I really loved more than anything else was helping people. And as somebody who was struggling really badly with constantly needing help to exist in daily life, being able to do something to help other people was insanely gratifying. And nobody could tell you that better than my husband. When I first started my business, it was like I became a whole new person. I finally had joy in my life again, and I had found something that I really loved to do. And the best part was I was able to make money at it too. It turns out I was actually pretty good at this whole virtual assistant thing. So much so that I started calling myself a systematic marketing expert instead. And my team grew from just me to me and my husband to me and my husband and a virtual assistant. And now we have over 15 team members and are making multi-six figures. We are actually on track to hit $250,000 in our business this year. Again, I don't really have any actionable tips or advice for you today, but if anyone is out there thinking that they can't do this, I hope that you can learn something from my story. I'm doing a lot better now health-wise and do not have to use a wheelchair anymore, although I still struggle on a day-to-day basis with my disability. But I was someone who was in pain 24/7, someone who could barely get out of bed most days. And somehow I still managed to start a business, quit my full-time job. I bought a house. I supported my husband through grad school. And now we have over 15 people on our team. I usually think it's really cliche and uninspiring when people say, if I can do it, you can do it too. But I've truly been through hell and back when it comes to my health, and I did not let that stop me. So I'm not going to say, if I can do it, you can do it, because I know that that's sort of pedantic. But what I'm going to say is, don't let anything stand in your way. Don't give up. We can all do this. Every single one of us, including me and including you. Living a life where you're making the amount of money that you need to make to be comfortable and are satisfied and happy with what you do is 100% possible. It's not only possible, it's necessary. Everybody deserves to do what they love and get paid for it. If you're not currently there yet, I want you to make a change and start working towards that today, because we can all do it. I've done it, and I know that you can do it too. And I hope that some piece of this story to you could relate to, and hopefully you found that some piece of it was able to make you feel a little bit inspired to go and do something today to further your dreams and make whatever you're wishing for get a little bit closer. So thank you so much for listening. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate everybody who showed up and watched today, whether you're on here live or you're on the replay. This was a really emotional Facebook Live for me. I'm sorry, again, I had to read from my paper. I just didn't want to forget anything, and I was like, my heart was kind of racing throughout the whole thing. This is a hard story to tell, but in the end, everything did work out okay for me, even though, you know, at one point I was really very like in despair and very, very depressed. But things are so much better now. I was able to have a couple of surgeries, and I'm in a much better place health-wise. I do still struggle occasionally, but things are a lot different now. And I have this amazing business, which I'm so thankful for. I really feel that my business actually helped to save me, because it gave me this outlet, and it gave me this place to, like, I don't know, it just has led to so many opportunities for me and has been just an amazing part of my life. So thank you again so much for coming and watching, and I love you guys so much, and I hope that you can take something away from my story.